Welcome to my study today. In our last video we looked at must and have for obligation, but today we're going to study them for guessing or deduction. We'll look at may and might. It may rain tomorrow. It might rain tomorrow. Which is correct, you think? And we'll also look at can't and couldn't in this context. At the end of the video there's an exercise for you to practice. Let's enjoy our English grammar together. We'll start with must in a present tense situation. Here we have some facts. Here's John. Here's John's house. And there's a sign saying John. Well, we can think something about that, can't we? We can draw a conclusion or a deduction. We could say, John must live here. And we're using the infinitive without to, because I'm sure you remember must is a modal verb and we do not follow it with a to infinitive. Here are some more examples. Woo! He must be rich. He's throwing money around, so I think it's fair to guess or deduce he must be a rich man. They are smiling. They must be very happy. Oh dear, what is that noise? Luigi must be practicing the violin again. Here we have a different tense. It's the continuous infinitive. I'll say again, must is not followed by to, so be practicing is a continuous infinitive. Bonjour! Anne must be learning French is another example. We can still guess in the past. Here are some facts. Here's John's house. His sign is crossed out and the sign itself says house sold by John. So we can guess or deduce John must have been living here. And this time we have a perfect continuous infinitive. John must have been living. Here's another example. They must have been working hard today. May and might are very close in meaning, and I think most native English speakers would understand either one, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But let me give you what I call the key test, really to help you remember which one of the two is the stronger. Here we have three keys. What could we say about these keys? What could we guess or deduce? Key number one. Number one may be the key to open the door. There's no particular reason for saying that, but you just feel strongly, yeah, maybe it's number one. But then, if you say, on the other hand, you might want to rethink that. Key number two might be the key. Not so certain now. We try the two keys, they don't work, then we use number three, and we can now say, number three must be the key. It's the only one that worked. So you can see that we've moved from possibility to certainty. May was not quite as strong as might, and must was certain. But it does depend a lot on personal interpretation and the context. I know that's not helpful in grammar terms, but I'm afraid it's just the way it works. You just have to become familiar with may and might. So we'll say may is slightly stronger and might is less so. Look at this example. We've had a lot of train strikes and some bus strikes in England recently. And here's Peter. What could we say about Peter? Peter may have come by train. Well, let's apply the test. On the other hand, Peter might have come by bus. But this man says, no, there was a train and bus strike, so he must have come by taxi. So we've moved through may, might and must. You have to be a little bit careful with American English. Americans prefer to use have and had instead of must. What is that noise? It has to be a cat. In the past, what was that noise? It had to be a cat. But in English, we would prefer it must have been a cat. So be a little bit careful there. Can't and couldn't are used for negative deduction. Look at this example. The referee is giving Beckham a red card. He can't be. It's a mistake. So we're using the present infinitive of to be to make this construction. Here's another example. Look at that giant bird, the man says. But you think that's illogical. It can't or couldn't be, equally here. It can't or couldn't be a giant bird. It must be an aeroplane. So you've made the deduction using can't and couldn't. For a past event, we can still use can't and couldn't. I saw Elvis in the pub last night. And the other man says, it couldn't have been Elvis. He's been dead for years. But this time we're using a perfect infinitive, have been. And remember, because can't and couldn't are modal verbs, there is no to. When we have a sentence which is introduced by a verb in the past, we prefer to use couldn't for a deduction. Sally said is in the past. Sally said Peter couldn't have come by train or bus. Her deduction was that it was impossible because there was a strike. Quite a lot of difficult grammar there, but look back through it and really see if you can understand it, because it's very important to get it right. If you found my lesson useful, could I ask you to please subscribe below and ring that bell? Thanks. Now here's some exercises for you to practice. The answers I've given are mostly the answers I would give as an English speaker. There are in some cases other answers. Exercise 1. Complete the sentences with must, may or might, can't or couldn't. In some cases, two answers are possible. Exercise 1. Answers. In our next video, we'll look at round and around. They can be confusing, can't they? So, thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!